this heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
Ben, I can't hear you at all. What's going on? I think you need to take your microphone into the shop. Why are you so sweaty, Ben?
Stop talking to me about... I've already taken my car into the shop. I know about the carbon on the valves. We're talking a new leaf on the Pod of Dreams.
He flew like a hawk. When it came to the water, he was a master too. He was, in fact, the ultimate playboy. And then, one day...
Harold, I should like to ask you something.
Certainly, sir.
You've been with me for many years now, Harold. What would you do if I told you I had lost all my money?
I should leave immediately, sir, upon giving the proper notice.
Suicide?
No, sir, I was not going to suggest suicide. I was going to suggest marriage.
Marriage? You mean to a woman?
Yes, sir, that is what I had in mind.
You have no mother, no father, no children, no one at all?
No one at all. Oh, Henry, I am alive. I want to give. Laugh. Darling.
No, don't let them out.
And the girl?
She's enormously wealthy, too.
Forgive me, Henrietta, what I'm trying to say is... Will you marry me?
Beg your pardon?
Oh, Henrietta. Ah! Damn it to hell.
Did you hurt yourself?
No, kneeling on broken glass is my favorite pastime. It keeps me from slouching.
I don't see why you take it for granted that the only reason that somebody would marry me is for my money. There may be some other basis, you know.
Oh, my God. Of course, Henrietta. Don't you think that I know? Haven't I proposed to you these past 10 years on whatever other basis there is?
Dearly beloved, we are gathered together here in the sight of God and in the face of this company to join together this man and this woman in holy matrimony.
Never have I seen one woman in whom every social grace was lacking. That woman is a menace not only to health, but to Western civilization as we know it. She doesn't deserve to live. Forget I said that.
Oh, Henry! Listen! Henry, it sounds like a waterfall! Henry! I can't swim! Henry!
Walter Matthau and Elaine May.
All right, Henrietta. I'm ready for you now. Take a deep breath. Hold your nose. And let go.
You'll die laughing at the two of them in A New Leaf from Paramount Pictures.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pod of Dreams. If you listen, we will pod. So, Eric, we talked quite a while ago in the context of Bullet.
Yeah, hold on. I'm mixing my wine with soda water and lime juice. Hold on a second. There, sorry, go ahead.
Sounds good. I hear it's really good.
Pretty sweet stuff.
Try. Yeah, it's sweet. We talked in the context of Bullet, this weird era of the 70s where like dudes you just wouldn't think would ever become movie stars became movie stars. And man, I don't know if there's a better example of that than Walter Matthau.
Why is that guy a thing? Like, what the hell?
It's
what
so
the
crazy.
Hell?
It's so crazy to me that he was a big star. I don't even know how old he was supposed to be in this movie. I'm looking at him like, this guy could be 53.
He's probably younger than me,
right?
Like, in reality, but he looks like he's like in his 60s, you know?
Yeah, this is the early 70s. This isn't like grumpy old men era.
But he is a grumpy old man, though. Like, that was the revelation I had watching this. It was like, oh, he was just always that way. He just, like, didn't look like an old man, but he acted like an old man. Anyways, yes, shocking that he was like a leading man. That shit is fucking crazy. He feels
like he should have been just like a comic side character for like, because I think he's an incredible comedic actor, but I'm like, this guy's the lead. He's a lead in a bunch of stuff. This is bonkers to me. All right, so this is the first time we've done a comedy in a while. We got done with spooky season. I wanted to do this movie because I saw it on the list and it looked like it'd be right up my alley. As it turned out, it kind of was. I thought this movie was funny. Did you find this movie funny at all, Eric?
Not really.
Okay.
Not much. I think there were some jokes that made me giggle. We were talking earlier. The kneeling on the glass is my favorite pastime. That was kind of funny. Like, that was made me chuckle. But the problem I had is he is so mean and nasty that it's hard. Yeah. It's hard for it to be funny. Oh. And like, Elaine May is such a sweet person in this, and she gets trashed on and taken advantage of and made fun of in such a mean, nasty way. He literally tries to kill her. Like, that's the plot of this movie is this dude trying to kill his wife. Like, there's nothing funny about that. I know it's dark and it's supposed to be dark comedy, but boy, I don't find that funny.
Oh, see, this comedy is Jet Black. He's terrible. He's not likable. I'm not on his side. And I don't need that for comedy to work, by the way. For me, I look at this and I was laughing very consistently early on. Like, as he's saying goodbye, so just a basic primer on the plot. Walter Matthau plays a guy who's been rich his entire life and has been coddled and he's been rendered, like, useless. And he's completely, like, disconnected from anything at all because he just has a servant.
He lives off his family's money. And
correct, yeah.
He's like, his only job is being a rich guy. Like, that's all he does. He just
goes around and rides his horse and rides in a Ferrari and knows nothing and takes care of nothing. He's just rich.
Like the worst kind of piece of shit human. Like, literally what's wrong with this country, like, I think, is people like
obviously,
that.
Well, sure. And this movie is very satirical about the super wealthy. I don't think it's on the side. If you watch this and like, oh, I don't think you're supposed to like these people. It's a big send up on the absurdity of people being really, really rich, I think. But he finds out at the beginning of the movie that he's lost all of his money, and it doesn't even register for him. He doesn't even consider it a possibility that he'd run out of money, but his trust has been depleted, and he's got no other income. He doesn't have a job. He's like never had a job.
Isn't that the plot of Billy Madison too? Isn't it? I mean, instead of this movie, instead of him having to go back to school, he tries to find a wife? But it's basically like the same movie, right?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. No, that's fine. Maybe Adam Sandler got inspiration from this. I have no idea. But he finds out, and we get this really sappy, sentimental music as he says goodbye to all these things, these absurd rich people things, where he's like, he says goodbye to his horse. Which
just wanted to see the restaurant one last time.
Yes, he goes to the restaurant. He goes to the country club and just, I want to know if I feel welcome. It's supposed to be really sentimental and meaningful, and it's absurd and ridiculous because all he's doing is like having to potentially say goodbye to his opulence, and he, of course, could at any point sell all the stuff that he owns and still be living pretty comfortably. Sell his Ferrari and get just a more modest car. He has a Ferrari. It's really impractical. It breaks down all the time. It's difficult to fix. He's sad about his Ferrari. He walks in, and his like manservant's there. He's got a British manservant, and it's so absurd and ridiculous and satirical. I was laughing all throughout all that scene. It's just so outlandish and ridiculous. We're starting off our movie with just a vile piece of trash who's so sad that he's going to potentially have to say goodbye to his lifestyle. And the fix is all he has to do is find some rich lady and marry her. And the idea comes from his butler. And the next thing we know, but he needs to get a loan. The loan doesn't even really matter, but it's part of the whole. But then he has to just find a wife, just somebody he can marry, so he can marry her for her wealth. And the courtship scene, you didn't laugh at the courtship scene, like when he says, "Don't let them out." You didn't laugh at that?
Nah, it was all right. Where she kept spilling her tea and all that.
I'm not even talking about Elaine May's character. This is early on. He's like,
the montage of the women that he was trying to date. Okay.
Yes, one of them is
I had questions. Is he supposed to be a gay man in this movie?
Maybe.
He's repulsed by the woman that takes her top off. He's literally repulsed by it, and she's not a unattractive person. Like,
no, that's part of the absurdity. Like, he finds a woman early on who's by herself, like, as in doesn't have a husband, doesn't have parents, has a lot of money. He goes on a date with her,
and all she wants to do is fuck him, and he's like, ew, no, I don't.
She throws herself completely at him. It couldn't be any easier for him. She's about to take her top off, and he goes, "Don't let them out," and then he runs away. And maybe that's the sign that he's a. And there's a lot of this movie that was cut out. I mean, we saw this is an hour 42. Like the rough cut is 3 hours or something ridiculous. Which is too long.
Oh God, 3 hours of that.
It didn't need to be 3 hours.
That scene felt cut to hell. There was stuff that just jumped back and forth, and
there's times where it feels like there's key pieces missing here and there where it's okay, we.
Well, I want to give a round of applause to the editor that decided to cut a lot of that out, because. No, it wouldn't. I didn't need more of that.
It wouldn't have worked well. I mean, this isn't the kind of movie that should be 3 hours long. It's a romantic comedy. There's some stuff that can be longer, but I mean, you got to get in and out with a romantic comedy. But it's absurd. And finally, he shows up at some rich person's party where he gets tea. He finds out this woman, who's played by Elaine May, is available.
Who is the writer and director of the movie? Just to note, if people didn't know that.
Yep, she is the entire creative force about this movie. But at some point, he's introduced to a rich people, and their last name is Hitler, and they're totally nonchalant about it. And I don't honestly think he's oblivious. He says, "Are you related to the Boston Hitlers by chance?" I think it was a legitimate question, but it was one of the most ridiculous and absurd things. I had to rewind it and laugh multiple times. It was just utterly crazy how it starts, and eventually. He convinces this woman. There's some drama with a lawyer who's leeching off of her estate that wants to, stay with her. And her whole staff is basically fleecing her. But then we move into, they get married, and he's just fantasizing about killing her.
But she's a kind, sweet lady. And all he wants to do is murder her. He's I can't be with this woman. Even though she's kind of annoying and she's clumsy and but he's I just have to kill her. What the fuck is that? Is that supposed to be funny? That he just I'm just gonna murder. And then the rest of the movie is him finding different ways to kill her and not get caught. He goes around asking the housekeeper guy, hey, you sure you don't have any pesticides? Because he looks up the best way to poison her. I mean, it's dark as hell. That's not funny to me.
You're smiling as you're describing it, though, because it's ridiculous and outlandish on its surface. You aren't supposed to root for him to it. I mean, this guy he's marrying her for her wealth, and he finds her annoying and just wants to have all the money himself because all he wants to do is just be rich. He tearfully says early in the movie, all I wanted to do was just be rich.
And have a butler take care of him and dress him and make him wear fancy clothes. I think they're trying to say he's a gay man. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it.
No, that's entirely possible. That is entirely possible. There's a gay subtext to all of this. Who knows? I mean, he's very formal. But, I mean, he sleeps with her, I think, right? When they're on their honeymoon, they have 2 beds. And he's like, I'll sleep in this one, you sleep in that one. And when we need to both be on the bed together, we'll be on that one. It was so I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe he just grinned and bare it. It's entirely possible that there's this, he's just wants to be a gay, rich guy who just dines out and doesn't have to do anything ever. The whole premise is outlandish and ridiculous and,
and stupid. You can use that word, stupid.
It's stupid deliberately so. I mean, you're using that in a pejorative way, this is stupid, why would we make a movie? This is a ridiculous premise for a movie. I mean, I don't like romantic comedies to begin with. So you take one that just takes the basic setup of romantic and just it ups it to super dark levels. Holy cow.
The only reason he doesn't kill her in the end is because doesn't she have the keys on her when she's in the water? Isn't that the whole reason he saves her? Right? Or am I misremembering it?
It depends on how you read it, I guess. I mean, so she names a fern after him. She finds a fern on their honeymoon.
Yeah, she's a botanist. That's her career. She loves plants.
And he even though it's a totally him fake buttering her up to just marry her, he said a bunch of supportive things about her being a botanist very early on, when his stupid Ferrari broke down and he had to get it towed, because he's driving around a Ferrari and it breaks down all the time. So she names it. She takes his last name. She names it after him. She sees the fern when they're on a trip to, I don't remember where it is. the Adirondacks or something like that. And he's literally got this plan. He's going to let her, they're in the rapids. He's going to let her drown. He sees that. And he's like, oh, hell. And he just goes into the water to save her.
Grabs her by her hair and yanks her out of the water.
Yep. And then it's like this faux romantic thing at the end where, like, basically she's convincing him to become a history professor at her college. And he's going to have to grade term papers. And he's begrudgingly going to enjoy spending the rest of his life with her. And it's incredibly not romantic, but it's supposed to be, and that's just part of this like wonderful satire of the whole romantic comedy, a whole movie where you're watching people.
I thought there was some melodrama at the end there. It was supposed to be sweet and tender.
That's the only. Well, it is, but it's also absurd if you take like a half a step back. Like, okay, like it plays out like, oh, this is the big dramatic moment at the end of a romantic comedy, but that moment is him not letting her drown. And this is about as much goodness as this person is capable of. This is as much concern as this man rendered utterly useless by his wealth is capable of doing. And it plays it like, oh, hey, we're in love. This is great. But it's not romantic at all. Like, it plays out romantically, but it's just not. It's like
Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars, described it as hilarious, cockeyed, and warm. So I think
I can disagree with Roger Ebert. You're allowed. He doesn't get to decide.
Just saying.
I mean, he gave it 4 stars, so I guess you got to give it 4 stars, Eric. He thought it was
No,
hilarious.
I definitely didn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the part that worked for me wasn't like, I wasn't like, oh, what a great person. He didn't kill her. Yeah, that's ridiculous. The whole point is that the movie plays it like it's sweet and warm, and it's not. It's outlandish. She's awful the entire time. The butler's constantly worried that she's going to get killed, and he's like on their honeymoon. He didn't think she'd be back. Where is she? Where's she? Oh, there you are, sir. Oh, so glad to see you. He's just like terrified, and he's just trying to subtly convince him not to kill her. I mean, it's so dark and bleak and ridiculous. And again, I think it all starts with you're spoofing rich people. The whole thing is just outlandish. It's farcical, and it's super funny to me.
So I've sort of rethought my views on comedies, I think, recently, and like the mean comedy is something that doesn't appeal to me. Maybe I'm just getting old and soft. Maybe that's what it is. But like Dumb and Dumber movie, probably is maybe one of my favorite comedies ever. And I think watching that now, I haven't watched it in a while, but I think I might have a hard time with how fucking mean they are to everybody. And I've heard the second one, the one that came out recently, Dumb and Dumber or whatever, Dumb and Dumber 2. But not the
prequel.
No, the legit sequel that Jim Carrey, and I have not seen it. Is there like even more mean? You know what I mean? And it wrecks it because like being dumb and fucking people over is more funny than just being nasty and fucking people over. Like that, and that's what Walter Matthau is in this movie. He's just completely nasty and screws everybody over and is selfish and only cares about what his needs.
But the joke is ultimately on the rich people, is how I view it. I don't think...
Really, because he has a great life and he's still rich, and the worst thing that happens to him is he has to live with this woman who isn't really all that bad and will have a great job and great papers and be rich. Like,
well, he's not punished. I don't know if are you part of the people that think every bad person needs to be punished in a movie and that's how it has to go, or else it's not valid. I don't look at this and think he's rewarded. First of all, rich people get away with horrible stuff all the time, so it's very accurate in that sense. I don't think.
Yeah, no, I think the movie's saying that is like, boy, was it great to be a rich white man in the 60s, 70s.
Well, I don't know that it thinks he's great. I mean, he's miserable. Miserable throughout the whole movie.
Your lifestyle is great. Like you don't even have to do anything. You just be a white man and you're rich, and you can get through the day.
But how happy is he? He loses everything because he's an idiot, and I don't know. I mean, how much joy do you think he actually experienced in the movie? I mean.
Well, was he capable? He's a narcissist. Like, is he even capable?
Maybe he's not. Right, yeah. Correct. And I don't know that he didn't look happy at all.
But is that Walter Matthau, who's just like some crank running around being grumpy?
Walter Matthau plays a crank, but I mean, even the character, ignoring the fact that it's Walter Matthau, who always looks like a crank, and fine. I mean, that's you.
Like, if that's like Brad Pitt, like, is there a little more is it a little more funny because he's not just some grumpy ass, like, weird looking old guy. I don't know.
Oh, see, this movie wouldn't have worked as well with Brad Pitt. And Brad Pitt's not the comedic actor that Walter
Or
Matthau
Adam
is.
Sandler, like, for that example. Like,
Oh my God, Adam Sandler would not. Okay. Oh, the movie would be way worse with Adam Sandler, the king of no subtlety whatsoever, all the time. No, I don't think any of you might have liked it better. I don't know. Maybe you want to be broader, but to me, I mean, he's miserable. He's not happy. Yeah, he has all this stuff, and he doesn't care about anybody or anything. Begrudgingly, at the very end, he kind of a little bit, maybe, sort of cares about Elaine May's character. Maybe a tiny bit, a smidgen. After she's super nice to him and saves him from being poor. He's
my
like,
other issue.
crying.
His name is Henry. Her
And
name
she's
is Henrietta. What the fuck is that? They're
it's
constantly
incestuous.
saying each other's names, and it's Henrietta. It's like, God.
That's part of the joke. That's. I think.
Oh.
Do you think that's not a conscious choice? You think it was an
I
accident?
found
that
it
one
annoying.
character-
No, I'm sure it was. I just found it annoying.
I mean, it is. They all have the similar names. They all are absurd people. I mean, almost nobody looks happy. So, like the guy that's talking about the grout. Here's a guy who's sitting there on a couch. I told you about the grout. Well, I sprayed the grout and got rid of the grout. And then the next thing he says is there's some other fungus or whatever the hell it is, some plant-related problem. And the guy looks like a zombie. I mean, all these people look like zombies. And the only person who has any kind of life, the woman that is really like, I want companionship, I want connection, he runs scared of. He's like, don't let them out. Everybody just seems dead inside. Nobody seems happy. And at least the people that are fleecing Elaine May, yeah, I guess they're scamming her.
They're having a good time.
It made me think of actually Parasite a smidgen, actually.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
They're having fun with the money. They're at least able to enjoy it. Like they haven't had it, and they're like, oh, we're getting money, and they're enjoying their lives. Walter Matthau doesn't seem to enjoy it at all. I mean, to me, that's the absolute criticism. And what we saw at the end was the absolute most amount of goodness he's capable of. When there's a woman who saved him from poverty and did a bunch of really nice for him, he's able to kind of like sort of say, I don't want her to die. Which to me is part of this grander, okay, yeah, we're really criticizing the upper class here. There's
no arc to his character though. His
arc, if you want to call it, is he starts somebody.
I just want to kill my wife. Like I choose to let her live.
It's pathetically weak. I mean, it's weak deliberately. So he's goes from I don't care about anybody or anything to a tiny bit, maybe a little bit. I don't want this other person to die, and I accept and then I'm going to coexist with them, which isn't romantic. It's dark and depressing, and that it's played as heroic is funny to me. It's absurd. It has fun with the romantic comedy form. At the same time, we look at this guy who's getting miserable. Like, he doesn't ever seem happy. When was the last time does he seem happy once in the movie?
Does he smile?
Happy?
Yeah.
He seems happy maybe when he sees the fern, right? I think that's maybe one of the only times we see him. He like, at most, he's like, oh, look, there's a fern in the North Woods or whatever it's called, the name of the plant. I don't care. That's maybe one of the only time we see him like actually look expressive, even though he's got access to all this wine and wonderful stuff. And anyway, it's all to me. The meanness is ultimately on the upper class to me when I look at this. It's not really on her. She's kind of incidental, ultimately. But I mean, you can think, oh yes, how heroic, what a great guy. He didn't kill her. Like that's not what I think. I think, oh my God, this is ridiculous. Is it? I mean, I didn't think he was gonna actually kill her. I think it seemed like he had to at least decide not to at the end. But I looked at it and thought, I mean, I don't know. The whole thing worked for me because it had so much fun with the form and the absurdity all over the place. I mean, it's not Kite Boonwell, who's this guy who really made fun of the upper class in a bunch of different movies. But I'm sorry that you didn't think it was funny.
So she apparently sued Paramount, Elaine May, because of the version that they released was not the one she wanted. Yeah, she had final cut,
right? So she contractually was required to be able to have final say. If anybody doesn't know what final cut is, if you're a director, it's final cut. You get to go to the studio and say, this is my version of the movie. You can't make any alterations at this point.
Yeah, apparently an hour longer and included 2 murders that they cut out of the final version.
And maybe they were right to cut it out. I mean, they probably were, but contractually, yeah, I hope she won her lawsuit. I don't know. But I mean, there's so much about this that's like original and really, really fun. I mean, again, it's how dark and cynical this movie worked for me. Because the joke ultimately isn't on Elaine May's character. It's on rich people. But I'm sorry you didn't like it. So what's a comedy you do like? So you're sitting here saying, like, you don't like stuff that's mean-spirited. What's a non-mean-spirited comedy that you
Tommy
like?
Boy's phenomenal. I mean, he's dumb, but he's not a mean person. He's not
But is
shitting
David
on
Spade
people.
mean?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's interesting. So, I mean, I love Little Miss Sunshine, and I think that's mean to the right people. It's mean to people who love, like, beauty pageants for little girls. Those people deserve to be ridiculed, but, I don't know. I mean,
it's like Chevy Chase, right? We talked about, like, how when we did Fletch, how he's kind of an asshole to everybody. He's not a very likable person. Anchorman is like a good example of a movie. Like, these people they're kind of dipshits, but the joke is always on them. They always get screwed over. They're the butts of the joke. Whereas, like, Walter Matthau was never the butt of any joke.
oh, see, I think he's the butt of the whole movie. I think
I
the whole
don't.
movie. See, I read it totally different. I think the whole movie is a joke on him, his character, and then, you know, the super wealthy ultimately.
Like,
I mean,
Spinal Tap. Like, again, that's a hilarious movie where these guys are the butts of the joke. Like, they get screwed over, they screw people over, but, like, it's all about what's happening to them in a funny way. Like, they're creating. There's no victims except for them. Whereas in this movie, there is victims. Like,
so the only victims in a comedy can be the main character.
Not can be. Yeah. I'm not saying it's like a hard and fast rule. I'm just saying it's something that I don't appeal to. It doesn't appeal to me as much.
That's right. I know. I'm asking about your opinion. I'm not. I mean, it's this comedy. It's super subjective. But, like, is Caddyshack mean? I mean, they make fun of that rich guy all the time.
A little bit. It gets a little. There's a few parts in there where it's like, man, this is getting a little nasty. And, you know, I mean, Rodney Dangerfield, he's like kind of a fucking jerk to everybody. You know, I mean, it's funny because he's doing it to the judge, who's also a unlikable character, but, like, he's kind of an ass to everybody. You know, treats the staff at the golf club like shit. I don't know.
No, it's. I mean, this is interesting to me because I.
There was in, like, the 70s era, there was that sort of run of comedy where it was kind of mean-spirited, you know, a little bit.
So you think it's just mean towards Elaine May's character? That's the one who it's mean towards?
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, he tries to kill her. You know, I mean, she's worthless to him, alive.
So other than his desire to kill her, which is whatever, half the movie, are there any other characters that are the butt of the joke? I mean, who else does the movie go after?
Well, no, what are the jokes in this movie, I guess, is my other problem. What else is funny about what happens in this movie? There aren't necessarily a lot of jokes. I know the situations are meant to be comical.
Oh, the whole structure is absurd. I mean, hearing sweet music playing while a guy says goodbye to all of his rich person stuff is just so bizarre and hilarious and weird in a way was super funny. Just him, all he has to do is find a woman. I mean, like, that's all he has to do is find somebody to marry, and then he gets to be rich again. And he struggled to do that. And then
without any explanation, though, like, why? Why does he not want to? Why is he not married already? Like, it just.
He doesn't want a relationship with anybody. He doesn't want to have to interact with a real interaction with anybody ever. The only people he wants to interact with are people that are his servants. So
he's just a psychopath. Like,
yeah,
literally.
He only cares about himself. He doesn't want to have any relationship with anybody ever. He doesn't want that at all. Think of Daniel Plainview, but way lazier and you know, less ambitious. You know, he that's it. You get introduced to his character and you see just what kind of. The only thing he romanticizes.
Is there anything funny about Daniel Plainview, though? I think Paul Thomas Anderson thinks that's like a hilarious movie, but I don't especially find that funny. I don't know.
Well, There Will Be Blood is a totally different movie, and whether he's going for humor or not in that movie, I don't care. This movie's clearly going for satire of this person who
It's just,
lives by themselves.
It's just not my bag. It's not my bag. It's this type of movie's not.
I say
my
it's
thing.
weird that
You thought I would like this movie?
I had no idea. I've never seen it before. I had no idea.
When you're watching it, were you like, "Oh, this will be fucking Eric"?
I don't know. I was too busy enjoying it myself to worry about what you think.
Okay.
Frankly, I had a really good time with it, and the movie clearly thinks Elaine May is a good person. Her only
She
flaw
is.
that she's too nice, maybe, so she
Yeah.
lets some people take advantage of her. But the movie isn't like she deserves to die. Walter Matthau thinks it does, but we clearly know how awful he is by that point. We're not supposed to identify and think it's great. I mean, him fantasizing about murder it's just awful. This is a woman that saved him from having to be poor, which is a big tragic fate for him. Which again, I don't. If he ended up poor, this character in real life, I wouldn't be sad about it. I don't think she's the butt of the joke. I mean, her worst sin is that she kind of spills stuff. I mean, it's not a real thing. And like, when he's trying to court her and she spills her tea and then he deliberately jumps his out to make the woman mad. I guess the butt's on that woman, but she's super rich, so who cares if some carpet or rug is soiled? Like, oh, poor her. I don't know. I didn't see her being the butt of any jokes. I don't think the movie actually thought she sucked or deserved to die or didn't like her. We just saw it from his perspective, and he was the awful one. I mean, there's just no comedies with protagonists that are awful that you like?
It's a harder sell for me,
Okay.
It's hard to laugh when you're seeing despicable, like Borat. The things he does, the outcomes end up like screwing people over and hurting people. But like Borat himself is not trying to be a jerk to anybody.
Well, but Borat is played by a man who knows what he's saying and doing, and he's trying to make people look like jerks, and he's absolutely trying to be mean.
But the character of Borat isn't trying to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what you can laugh at that.
But if you're talking about the ethics of that, this is a real person who's actually doing it to real people, and none of them are fictional. And so if you can look
at that's a little different because it's sort of a reality-based comedy.
But he's actually like going after real people to make them look bad and awful.
Right. So it's Borat's not a great example.
No, I think that's extremely mean-spirited. I like Borat and think it's funny, by the way. It depends on who's getting made fun of for what reasons and why, and what appeals to you is going to be different, and we're all wired differently. Fine. But yeah, that's a weird example to me. Here's a fake movie about rich people, one of whom is particularly awful. They all seem pretty miserable, except for Elaine May.
I guess to me it's why I don't like the Jackass movies. Like, I know they're doing it to themselves, but a lot of it they're doing to each other. And, oh, it's funny. I just, snap my buddy's balls in half. Like, oh, that's not funny to me. Like, that's mean. Like, that's fucking nasty.
Well, they all consent to that, especially by now.
Well, so did the people in Borat. They all signed waivers at some point.
They didn't make a bunch of money. They didn't know what they were getting into.
But either way, like,
after the fact.
I don't find that funny when you're just being mean to people. Like, that's not.
I don't care.
Humorous
If you sign up and say, I'm going to get paid with these other people and we're going to be mean to each other and that's how we're going to make money, I feel so different about that than like Borat. That's just so different to me. That's interesting. Comedy's weird. And the comedy immediately I knew was just like right up my alley. When he's talking to the lawyer and just not getting that all of a sudden he has no money left. Like he can't even contemplate it. And
Dr. Strangelove is mean to government officials, like, but in a satirical way that makes it funny. Like,
I think that's what this movie is, and you clearly didn't get that vibe. You thought we were supposed to identify with Walter Matthau's heroic journey more than I did.
Is this a satire or a romantic comedy?
Well, it's a romantic comedy.
Both?
It's structured as a romantic comedy, but it's very satirical from my perspective.
About rich people that.
They're awful. The rich people are awful. The one who's least awful is Her Lives in Jeopardy by the most awful one. To me, this whole thing is a satire and a send-up of rich people via a romantic comedy, which is why it's jet black. That's why the humor is very, very dark. At the same time, it pokes fun at the absurdity of romantic comedies in general.
I don't know. If your lead protagonist is just one of the most unlikable people in the history of movies, there's got to be some reason for it other than just a few jokes.
You and I disagree. I think there's loads of reasons for it. Because the whole point of the movie is that he's awful. He's miserable, even though he has all this money. and all he has to do is marry somebody, and that's a challenge for him because he's so devoid of emotions and ability to have actual relationships. And it sucks, and they're miserable, and then, oh, look, what a great guy. He didn't kill his wife.
I mean, with that said, I really like Elaine May. I think she's very good in this movie.
Oh, okay.
And knowing that she wrote and directed it is very impressive. Like, there's a lot of set pieces. It clearly was an expensive movie, which, you talked about it was kind of a over budget and was a flop, right? I mean, or
financially, yes.
Box office wise.
Yeah. Critics liked it, but yeah, a black comedy, this isn't going to appeal to non-weirdos like me. I mean, I loved it. This is kind of insanity is right up my alley, but the average moviegoer isn't.
Okay. Well, do you want to give a rating to your love of this movie?
Sure. I would say 4.5 for me.
Wow. Near perfect.
Yeah.
A near perfect score.
The editing is discombobulated. It feels kind of jarring.
Like the scene where he's jet skiing, it's like, whoa, wait, this is not adding up. Like that really seemed like totally cut to shit.
Well, I think that he was supposed to say he just didn't want to hear her talk, so he like let go on purpose. Is kind of the vibe I got. Like she was talking and he wasn't saying anything. He was like, "Oh, I hate this. I hate her so much." Oh, and then he just lets go. But yeah, it didn't look smooth. There's a time where it feels like pacing wise there should be a little bit more. But I mean, I love so many of the sequences that are edited. I mean, there's at the same time he's thinking about killing her, he's also very oblivious. Like she's trying on the side of a cliff, trying to get that fern that she wants to classify and have named after her or whatever. And he's reading a book about poison, and he's so oblivious. He clearly had an opportunity to kill her and didn't do it. It's like she drops stuff and she could. I mean,
but the joke is. Turn around and you could just kill her. Like while you're reading a book about poison, you just like cut the rope and then she dies. Like that's the joke.
The joke is that he's so oblivious that he can't even see anything. He's so inattentive to her.
Man, that is too dark of a joke for me. Oh boy, that's really dark.
That's how awful even his goal to murder her, he can't actually pay attention to what she's doing enough to like accomplish the goal. And then finally he like stumbles into the opportunity for her to die, and then he chooses not to. Again, I didn't view him as sweet. I wasn't like, what a great guy afterwards. I mean, I walk away thinking. Anyway, I view this as it's not.
Well, and he's also like so stupid too. I mean, like the scene where he's talking to his accountant or the lawyer guy, where he's like, he's telling him like, dude, you're broke. Like you have no more money. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. He's frustrating in a way too. Like not only is he a fucking asshole and treats people like pure trash, he's also so dumb that he doesn't understand basic concepts. And he's frustrating in such a way that like there's just nothing about this guy that I don't want to see an entire movie about this person.
His wealth and privilege has rendered him utterly useless.
You had such a problem with Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughn in the Dragged Across Concrete movie.
That wasn't satire. That was not satire to me at all. Who was the satire on? Was it on cops? Or were you sending up conservative ideology?
They were going for realism in that movie. There was nothing supposed to be satirical about it. But like, your problem was you don't want to watch a movie about people you don't like.
If the movie was satire, but I'm supposed to identify with them. I'm supposed to care, or I saw those characters. I didn't like them. It wasn't. We weren't.
Who in this movie am I supposed to identify with and care about? Just Elaine May, Henrietta,
Elaine May, or nobody. Nobody.
I'm supposed to watch an entire movie and not connect or care about anybody. That's
if you
rough.
need to connect with people, that's fine. That's not hard for me. The form was wonderful. The whole structure is great. It's so absurd and different and hilarious to me. We're different. No, I don't think you're supposed to. You really have to identify with a character in any movie to get into it. Like I gotta side with a character, or else I'm out. I can't side with one of these characters.
Name another movie where there's no character that you connect with.
Oh, I couldn't do that.
Other than like a satire, like Strange Love, maybe.
Young adult, there isn't really anybody I identified with. Have you ever seen that movie? Set in the great state of Minnesota.
Is that Michael Cera, or is that that's you? No, Charlize Theron.
Yep.
I have seen that.
I I mean, are you supposed to identify with the characters in Dumb and Dumber? Who do you identify with in that movie?
Yes, they're not mean. Jeff Daniels, Harry
You identify
is...
with people that are that stupid that they are so oblivious to...
Well, that's what makes it funny. Tommy Boy, he's an idiot. He's a big, lovable idiot. Yes.
A dead parakeet to a blind kid. They tape the parakeets.
I took care of it.
I just thought it was real quiet.
Okay. But Harry, Jeff Daniels' character, is like mad at him about that. Like, you can't fucking send a blind kid the pet. Like, what are you doing?
Was he punished for it, or does it work out for him? Does their stupidity, are they punished for the stupidity? No.
In the end, they don't get anything. He doesn't get the girl. They don't get any money.
Well, they don't get rewarded, but they don't get punished. I mean, they're in as good of a spot as they were to start the movie. Whether they're in Providence, Rhode Island is where they started. They started somewhere in Rhode Island, I think. I don't identify with those guys. I don't like, man, I get it. I'm that stupid. I'm that oblivious to everybody around.
Ron Burgundy's an idiot, but I love it. I love watching him. Ricky Bobby, like, these are...
I don't identify with any of these characters. I don't identify with a race car driver. I'm not like, I'm not a winner. Yeah, that's not me. I'm not some cool, oh yeah, that's race, baby. Ooh, nacho cheese fountain. Man. We're buddies. Woo! Like, what? Anchorman's really funny. I don't identify with those characters. What I laugh about is so many other things having to do with the story and the character and the structure. Sometimes you do, like in Little Miss Sunshine, I identify with some of those characters a little bit.
Steve Carell's character is very sympathetic in that movie.
Well, everybody is to a certain degree.
They're terrible people. They're just trying to get through life.
Good people who are kind of failing, but failing together, and hey, look at life together, and that's fine. But sometimes movies I don't need a character like that's me. You didn't identify with the butler in this one?
He's a sycophant. He's just he needs his boss to keep being rich so he can live his life. So
the underclass there, are they parasites? Are they leeches?
Well, that's the idea of Parasite, obviously, which is a movie I love quite a bit.
Who's I don't know how to say that. Who's the parasite on whom? That's fine. I mean, I loved what I saw as I mean, it's not Doctor Strangelove. Doctor Strangelove is a perfect movie. It is a perfect satire. It is acted to perfection by Peter Sellers. It is magnificent. Love Doctor Strangelove. And it's a deconstruction of war and nuclear Armageddon and whatever. And this movie isn't that. And I could go down to a 4. I mean, you could kind of convince me, I guess, but I laughed so consistently through the first half of the movie, especially more than I've laughed at a movie in a long time. Again, I don't think I was laughing like, haha, he wants to kill her. She deserves to die. I was like, this is ridiculous. What is going on here? It's so dark and satirical that's where the humor came in to me. And it was outlandish in a way that was really funny. And the butt of the joke is almost always on Walter Matthau. About how miserable he is the whole time. He's just never happy. Even though he's got all the stuff. But how bad of a review are you giving it?
I think I gave it 2.5 stars.
Okay.
I don't know why Walter Matthau is so sweaty. The whole movie, he's just like dripping with sweat. That made no sense to me either. Can we wipe this guy down? Why is he sweating so much?
I think because he has to interact with people in a meaningful way. I think that's what's going on.
No, I think that's a filmmaking issue that he probably did 20 takes wearing his suit.
Doesn't it get wiped down a couple of times? Well, maybe. That could be. I think doesn't it get wiped down once or twice by the butler guy?
Maybe. I don't know. It's just not my genre of movie. Romantic comedy already is just not something. I don't love romantic comedies. I don't often find them very funny. And
I wouldn't like a normal one. I'm with you. Like a standard one where I'm
and then you
to
throw
like
in like an awful character. The plot of this movie is basically this guy to stay rich needs to get married and kill his wife, and tries to kill his wife. That's just not. I'm not signing up for that. I'm not scrolling through and seeing that description like, ooh, let's watch that tonight. That's just not my thing. It's just that's a pass for me usually. And you picked it, so I watched it, and there was some really smart stuff in the jokes and the setup, the way it's done about as well as it could be done, given that setup and given that plot. I think it's about as well as you could do, and making it so you don't just want to turn it off because how bad Walter Matthau is. But I think he's the wrong choice because he's not charming in any way. Like
he shouldn't be charming. We don't want him to be charming. We don't want to. We're not supposed to identify with him. You don't want to make him more likable. You don't want to make him handsome and clever like Brad Pitt. Like you just that.
Well, it's like
absolutely.
Chevy Chase is a perfect example because like that is Chevy Chase is like that's his comedy. Like everything he's in, he's that. He's an asshole. He treats people like shit, and you're supposed to be laughing at. Look
but
at
he's
this
like a suburban
jerk.
dad versus here's this guy who's super rich.
Well, in Caddyshack, he's not a. You're just going off of the National Lampoon movies, but like
The
Caddyshack,
Vacations, sure.
Yeah, Fletchy's not a suburban dad.
Well,
you know?
Fletch, I think he's not really mean to most. I mean, he's only mean to kind of rich people in that movie. I think he's very rarely mean to somebody who's not higher up on the
it's
society.
maybe one of
order.
his most likable characters.
Well,
you know?
that was part of what worked for me with Fletch.
Anyways, it's 2.5 for me. So
Okay, fair enough. All right.
anything more you want to say before we connect it to Field of Dreams?
No, I mean, it made me think of actually Prince, Minnesota's own Prince. I read his a biography about him a few years ago, and it talked about, he didn't ever have too many long-term like personal relationships. Most of them were professional, and he just got rich and powerful enough that basically he could surround himself by people that had to do what he wanted. And Walter Matthau's character made me think of that. Like he wanted to be surrounded by people that had to do what he told them, and had to pretend to be nice. I don't know. So he was rich enough he didn't have to care, and finally he had to care a little bit. And anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's argued that Prince was the nicest guy in the world, but
If you build it, he will come.
all right, I can jump in. I'm ready to go.
Okay.
So started a new leaf. There is a woman named Doris Roberts in this movie. She plays the head of the house that is leading all the people stealing from Henrietta. You might know her. She was the mom in Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah.
I've never seen an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, but
I've seen a few snippets. Okay. It looks unappealing.
She is also in The Taking of Pelham 123, the original.
Okay.
Walter Matthau's in that, and I didn't want to pick him because I'm not a big Walter Matthau fan.
I didn't realize you didn't like Walter Matthau so much.
I'm like out on Walter Matthau now. I had only known him from the Grumpy movies, Grumpy Old Man. I've never seen Taken Pelham 123. I don't think I've ever seen another. Is he in 12 Angry Men, Walter Matthau?
I don't know.
I don't know if I've ever seen another movie that he's in, but yeah, I'm out on him like completely.
Just this one movie. Okay, interesting. Okay.
Well, and I don't like the Grumpy Old Men movies, so.
Wow, what a Minnesota hater!
I know.
Taking away your Minnesota card, bro.
You should. But somebody I do like that's in Taking Pelham 123 is my guy Robert Shaw, Quint from Jaws, the beady eyes. He is also in a movie called From Russia with Love.
Oh my God! I'm sorry. I'm going to pause this right now. Our path is exactly the same.
It really?
I'm wondering if it's identical. Yeah, I mean, I did
Sean Connery, Untouchables. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh my God! So we had the exact same path.
That's funny.
I did it with Walter Matthau, but otherwise exactly the same.
Well, look at that.
Holy cow. That is, sorry, I had to interrupt because that was bonkers.
I think I had a different one picked out. I can't remember what it was, but then I saw the Robert Shaw connection, and I was like, I gotta go Robert Shaw. Oh, I think I went to JFK. That's what I did. So Walter Matthau's in JFK. So, and then I jumped off to like all sorts of different directions. Where did I end up? I think I went up to like Pulp Fiction at some point to get Frank Wally. But yeah, so I wanted to go back to Robert Shaw.
So I would say you would like.
Uber drives the boat, Chief.
You would like the Taking of Pelham 123. I would say. He's not super comedic. He always looks a little.
I've seen the remake with Denzel and John Travolta. I've just never seen.
I haven't seen the remake. I've only seen the original. I mean, look at us, just staying in character. No, it's good. I mean, you like it. You'd like it more than you like a New Leaf, anyway. I'm not
because of Robert Shaw.
Because of Robert Shaw. Because it's not really a comedy. Walter Matthau just plays a cop, trying to solve the situation. That's really good. It's just really a fun disaster kind of robbery heist movie. So I recommend it. I think you would enjoy it, at least modestly.
Okay.
So anyway.
All right. Well, we have an exciting announcement. So our next 10 episodes, I think we're going to do that, right?
Yeah, well, if it's 10 episodes straight, there could be some detours throughout the next 10.
We might have guests jump in or little detours. But what we're going to do for the next, conceivably 10 episodes is do our 5 favorite movies of all time. So we'll start with each of ours, number 5, and count down to 1. Caveat is this isn't what we think are the best movies, like the greatest movies ever made. They're just our personal favorites.
Yep.
And another caveat is, like, for example, Jaws would definitely be on my list.
Yeah, if we've not talked about the movie, sorry, Joe, Minnesota Movie Man. If we talked about it on the podcast before, we're removing it from contention. So Eric would have put Jaws. I might have put Jaws, but off the table.
Yeah,
No Country for Old Men, off the table.
Right.
Memento, off the table. And a bunch of others.
Correct. So that's what we'll do. Like, so we'll count down to our. I will say, just to start, this was incredibly difficult for me. Like,
yeah, I haven't even really done it. I mean, I've been thinking about it in a general sense, but I haven't gotten to.
Way too much time thinking about this. I'm pretty well settled on the 5, so I will be revealing what number 5 is for me. The rest of them, in whatever order they are, I'm not 100% settled on them, so it could definitely change. Just wrote a list of maybe 25 movies, and they all could fit in here some way. So, with that said, if you see a movie we have on the list and you're like, what an idiot, that's on your list, like, I just want to say that I had many that may not make the list that I love, and I may switch.
5 is a tiny, tiny list. Yeah, I've got 2 that I'm pretty sure are going to be on the final cut. Other than that, it's like wide open. And it's brutal, and I'm actually dreading for it. I'm probably not going to make the decision until like the last possible second.
It's been very tough. It's been very stressful for me.
next week when we talk about it. It's going to be tough.
I guess the other caveat is we don't know each other's lists.
Nope.
So we're going to reveal them in the same way we've done with like trivia. Well, I don't know how you want to do this because we haven't really talked about it. If say I reveal one that would be on your list, are you going to mention it? Do you want to say that would have been on my list and I'll pick something else, or what? Like,
Sure. If Eric happens to pick one of my movies, I will say.
If I pick Howard the Duck, which is most certainly on your top 5, then we'll have to pull an audible or something.
Well, I can't pick Howard the Duck because I love the movie so much that if I watch it again, I'm going to go into a catatonic state, and then I'm going to have to go like Michael Myers into, a mental institution for a long time.
Okay, so
I'm not allowed to watch it.
So here I will be giving trivia questions to reveal my number 5 favorite movie of all time. And here we go. Do you want? Well, I was gonna say, do you want to make a guess? I bet you could probably guess my list, but
no, I don't want to. I'm gonna guess it one movie at a time. So you give me the clues, and we'll go.
All right. So clue number 1: the actor Jeremy Piven is in this movie.
Okay.
From Entourage, I
know who
Jeremy
Piven
is. Okay.
He's in PCU. He's in Old School.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so that's clue number 1. Number 2, this was released in 1995.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it PCU?
No, it's not PCU.
Okay.
That would be a weird choice for my top 5.
I don't know if it's relevant. I don't know.
Okay, so this movie was originally developed as a TV series, and it was released as a TV movie. The original idea was released as a TV movie because it wasn't picked up as a series.
Okay. That doesn't help me at all.
All right. All right, so that's 3 clues. Clue number 4. You're going to love this. It takes place in the city of Los Angeles.
Okay.
We've been doing heavy Los Angeles here, so.
All right, I think I know, but give me the last clue.
The last clue is they announced that they will make a sequel.
Is this Heat?
Heat.
Okay.
Heat is correct. Heat is my number 5 favorite movie of all time.
I don't remember Jeremy Piven being in that movie at all, but I'm sure he is.
He has a really small part.
Sure. Okay. It's like I have no recollection of Jeremy.
I think he's
okay.
a doctor. I think he plays a doctor in the movie, maybe.
Okay.
But yes, I love this movie. It was my first DVD that I ever bought. I've owned it in several formats. There are a bunch of different. There's like the director's cut. There's a final version of it.
Which version should I watch, Eric?
Whichever one you can get. I think. Is it on HBO? I own the 4K version of it. Let's see. Is it? It might not be streaming anywhere like for free.
I'll pay. It's fine. Just tell me which version to get.
Just rent it on Amazon, whichever version they have it on there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the director's cut is just longer, but
absolutely. In terms of crime movie, with Heat over Den of Thieves, or is maybe Den of Thieves waiting on the list?
No, Den of Thieves is derivative of Heat, so that's why I didn't choose it.
It's just too good. It's better than Heat, and you're like, oh.
I love Den of Thieves, but it's a paint by numbers version of Heat. Heat's just a fucking awesome movie. It's just so good. Have you seen it before?
Yes, I've seen Heat.
Okay. All right.
I've talked about Heat before, so I'm looking forward to rewatching it and talking it again.
So which I've never seen. So Michael Mann wrote the script for Heat in like the late 70s. Then I think he made Thief, and then wanted to do. It's called L.A. Takedown. Was the original like pilot that he shot as like a TV show. It was going to be before Miami Vice. And then it didn't get picked up. So it's on YouTube. You can watch it. L.A. Takedown was the like original idea of it. And I think he just remade it like as his own version. So
sure,
also I've just finished the book, Heat 2, amazing book. If you haven't read it, go check it out. If you like this movie, amazing book. And that apparently will be the sequel.
Okay. Sounds good.
But
all right, when's the sequel coming out?
Well, they just announced it.
They haven't started filming or anything yet. So.
I don't think they finished the script or anything yet either.
Oh, it's a ways away then.
But it takes place both before and after the original movie. So there's a prequel element and a sequel element to it.
Are Al Pacino and
I think he has said they will recast it. I think Pacino said he wanted Timothée Chalamet to play him, which would be pretty good.
The dude's really good. He's in everything, but he's really good. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right.
So Heat number 5 for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Next week Ben will reveal what his number 5 favorite movie of all time. So I'm guessing this was not on your list.
No, absolutely not. Okay. Heat. I mean, we'll talk about it next week, but I don't think I have quite the love for Heat either.
All right.
I think that's fair to say.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening,
everybody. Talking Heat.